Hey there, it's Mac from the GameWeenies, and I just want to do a short video today about the Game Genie. This video game enhancer or cheating device was very popular in the early to mid-90s, and that came out for multiple systems. And I just want to do a quick video about it to show you what it is, what it does, and kind of the cool things that you can do with it. So essentially how the Game Genie works is you take the Game Genie cartridge, you take the game that you want to use it with, and you plug it into the top of the cartridge and you plug this cartridge into your system. And as long as the Game Genie is toggled on with this switch, you'll be greeted to a code enter screen. And so what you have to do is then enter a code for the Game Genie for your specific game. So there were specific codes for specific games for specific items that you wanted to do. So like Infinite Lives had one code, or Super Jump was another code. So you're probably asking, how do you know where to get these codes? When the Game Genie came out, it wasn't common to have a computer at home with internet access. So what they did was they gave you these books, and these books had codes in them. So you would look up the game that you had, and hopefully there would be a code for it. Now, not all games had Game Genie codes, but it was pretty common back in the day that there would be a Game Genie code for that game, especially if it was a popular title. Now these codes access the addresses of the ROM from the cartridge itself and patch portions of the game. So a cheat code to give you infinite lives or more lives would patch that portion of the game, and so on. Now what's cool about the Game Genie is it allows you to use cheats pretty easily. You could increase your amount of lives, you could get infinite health, you could jump really high, you have unlimited ammo, level select, stuff like that. If you had these games growing up, some of them are pretty difficult. You don't have save functions, or maybe you need a password to get through. And really, if there was not a way to save your game built into the cartridge, which was rare at the time, you could use the Game Genie to, beat the game or make it a little easier. So let's plug things in, and we'll see how it works. Okay, so we have the game plugged into the Game Genie, and here's the boot up screen, as you can see here. Now this is where you would enter in your codes. As you see, you only have a limited amount of code you could enter. So it's not that bad, but I guess if you really wanted to soup up your gameplay, you really couldn't go that crazy. But there's some interesting results, as you'll see. Now some games do require a master code, and that is basically a code that enables cheats. So I'm going to go in here and enter the master code for Sonic the Hedgehog. Now that I entered in the master code, I can enter in whatever cheats I want. So I'm going to do, let's see, some cheat that'll be obvious here. Let's do a super jump here. Okay, so I have the super jump cheat in. Let's see if we want to do anything else. Let's do each ring counts as 8. So when I get one ring in the game, it'll be counted as 8 rings. That should be interesting. Okay, so I have my cheats in, and now I'm going to push start on the controller, and we'll see how it works. So now it's going to boot into the game. So this is Sonic the Hedgehog 1. And we'll just skip this. Alright, so if this worked, we should have a jump. There we go, here's our super jump. And I got a bunch of rings. I already have 24 rings, so each ring counts as 8 is working. And wow, that jump is pretty high. Wow. So, I mean, you could just see how many different possibilities you have while, using the Game Genie. So already I got an extra life here. Although things aren't perfect. I mean, you may encounter glitches, you may freeze the game, things may just break or not work as intended. I mean, you are cheating and you are messing with the values of the ROM itself of the game. So really, it's not guaranteed that these cheats will work flawlessly, and more often than that, you are likely to run into issues because you are playing the game in a way that is not meant to be played. So there we go, I just beat the first level of Sonic the Hedgehog in 54 seconds with 290 rings, so I don't think that's really what the developers had in mind, but you can just see how the Game Genie works. So one thing about using the Game Genie that's a little bit frustrating is that it sometimes doesn't work right away. And that's because it acts as a pass-through device between the console itself and the cartridge. So if you have problems using cartridges on your system, or you use it to clear out dust or anything, that issue is essentially doubled when you're using the Game Genie, because it's basically has two spots that you might have to clean. But it's not too bad usually. Just make sure your contacts are clean and get some Q-tips and make sure there's no dust in there, and you should be okay. Even if there's a solid connection between the console, the Game Genie, and your cartridge, you still may have an issue or so, and that's just because sometimes these contacts get loose. Even the manual essentially says try again. So just keep at it. These things are a bit old and they can be a bit finicky at times. So thankfully today you don't have to rely on these booklets to get codes for your Game Genie. Thankfully they're mostly available online. You could just do a simple search and you'd find probably more codes than you could ever use. But back in the day, this was the main source of getting your cheat codes. Or you could look at a magazine at the time like EGM or Game Players or the like, and you usually find cheat codes scattered in or at the back of the magazine for popular titles or games that just came out. Later on we got internet access, and with our dial-up modem we would go online and download Game Genie codes and print them out, so we had our own little binder of codes, which was really cool. So there really wasn't a need to subscribe to these booklets anymore, but it's really a nostalgic thing and it's fun to look back on. The Game Genie was a real cool product back in the day, but there's not really much of a need or use for it today. Most consoles have built-in save states, so you don't have to skip levels anymore, and especially with downloadable content, game developers don't have to make their games impossible or really difficult to beat just to make sure you got your money's worth out of the game. There's nothing really like the Game Genie today. I mean, there's the action replay for the Nintendo 3DS, but most game companies are so concerned about piracy and stuff like that they really don't allow these devices, and using a device like an action replay or something can be easily killed just by a system update by Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo. A few more things I just want to show you. Here's a Game Genie for the NES, and it works pretty much the same way as the one for the Genesis, but it's a bit different design for a reason. So you would plug in your cartridge into the Game Genie, and then you would hold on to this plastic tab and slide it into your non-top loader NES, which was the NES that was available at the time. And this one was more finicky than the Genesis just because of the design of the NES system. So I always have more trouble using this than the Genesis version. And later on, after the Game Genie, there were devices like the Game Shark, which came out for multiple systems. This one's for the Nintendo 64. It's also out for the Sega Saturn, the PlayStation 2, the Dreamcast, and so on. Products like the Game Shark and the Action Replay were very similar to the Game Genie and perform basically the same function, give or take a few unique features. So that's really all I wanted to cover about the Game Genie today. Thanks for watching our video. I hope you found it interesting, and subscribe, and let us know if you want to see any other videos about video game related items, accessories, or anything else you think might be cool for us to review. Thanks for watching. Wiener on!